Hedge Nordic, your single access point to the Nordic hedge fund industry.
In this interview, Eugene Guzman from Hedge Nordic talks to Mark Shay about Accendo Capital's activist approach to investing. Enjoy the discussion. How do you describe Accendo in a nutshell to investors?
In a nutshell, Accendo is an activist fund focusing on listed small cap companies in the Nordic geography. So we also have a focus on technology companies. And what it means when I say it's an activist fund is that we get involved with our companies at the board level to help make changes over time and help realize shareholder value creation. And the time frame is on the order of 5 to 10 years, something like that. Could even be longer, but we're definitely long-term investors.
And can you describe your activist approach in more detail? And what kind of companies are you looking for? And what are your plans for them usually?
Okay. The companies that we're looking for are technology companies in some form. It can mean that they themselves have technological innovation or that they're acting in a market that is characterized by technological change or shift. So that's an important feature. One of the reasons why we like the technology focus is because, especially being focused on the Nordics, the Nordic countries and companies have a long legacy and tradition of technological innovation. So that's what we're hoping to capitalize on. The activist component really amounts to us entering the company as an entrepreneurial owner. So having the same mindset as a founder would have to really focus and put everything we have into the work. So all of our contacts, all of our energy over a long period of time. And that can mean many things. We do a lot of work in our companies at the board level related to capital allocation. That's maybe the most important thing that we do. And that means evaluating projects and investment opportunities on a risk-reward basis to see what is it that we should be spending money on, and making choices like what is it that we should stop or should avoid spending money on. Often with small companies that are successful with good technology, there are tons of opportunities coming at them every day. And the difficult part of the job as an owner is to try to select the best opportunities and say no to other ones.
What are some other characteristics that you want to see in the companies that you look for?
Usually we look for some element of financial stability. So there are some investors that will do what's called distress investing and go in and restructure a balance sheet completely or provide debt capital, maybe buy preferred shares and do a kind of financial engineering approach to rescuing a company financially. That's not really what our focus is. We're looking for a certain amount of financial stability and downside protection in our companies. We also look for, again, the technological capability of the company. And for us, when we're looking at the technological versus the commercial capabilities of a company, we will definitely gravitate toward a stronger technology foundation with the idea that the commercial side can be improved more easily. If you have a technological innovation that doesn't really work in the market or doesn't have the respect of customers and competitors, it's probably not going anywhere. If the sales team is not well structured or not functioning well, that's something that we can come in and together with the board and management try to remedy. So looking at a company that's commercially savvy and with a great sales team and top-notch management, but the underlying product or technology is not really viable or not leading in its market, that's not the kind of case that we would like to get involved with. We prefer the other way around.
And since launching in 2008, how many investments and exits have you had?
The total number has been about 18 investments, of which about 12 of those have been exited and 6 are currently in the portfolio. So roughly a dozen exited investments. And that works out to, well, a little more than one per year. And that's roughly our goal, is to look at doing one, maybe two investments in a year on average. So we'd like the performance to be case driven. And over the years, we've seen that the performance is in fact very case driven. We can point to certain companies and their successes, relate that to the share price, and relate that to the fund performance. It's a very distinct correlation, and we have no intention of offering a kind of small cap exposure. There are many companies doing a great job of that in the market, and that's not what we're after.
And which companies tend to benefit from collaborating with Accendo and welcoming you as a shareholder?
Well, one thing we've noticed over time is that companies that we approach today are, generally speaking, more informed about the work that we do and more positive to the work that we do. If you turn the clock back about 10 years, companies didn't really know what we were about. The idea of an activist investor gave rise to some uncertainty among companies. They didn't quite know what they were getting. Even today, there are different types of activist investors with different types of agendas and different ways of pursuing their agendas. But now that there's a fairly good and wide understanding in the small cap space about how we work, we find that we're generally welcomed in discussions about investing. Most recently, for example, we participated as the cornerstone investor in the IPO of a Swedish software company called Modelon. And there, from the very first discussion that we had with the company and the co-founders, it was a very positive discussion about understanding from both sides what is it that they are doing, what is it that we are doing. And we quite quickly came to an agreement that this would be a good match in terms of us as owners and the co-founders working together for the next several years to help build the company.
Yeah. What benefits does Accendo bring to a company? Is it the financing, or the stable long-term partnership, or is it your expertise? What is it?
It's really a combination of things. One of the intangibles that we bring is a real passion for investing and for the entrepreneurial drive in our companies. So we don't just sit back and wait for the AGM and vote our shares one way or the other at the AGM. It's really about every day from morning till night, thinking about our companies and how can we make them better? What can we do to help the management, to help the board move ahead?
Hedge Nordic, your single access point to the Nordic hedge fund industry.